Hello and welcome to the Monkey Bubble EMEA Open Division playoffs. After weeks of scrims, training, and grueling competition, 16 teams have risen out of the crucible for a chance to fame here in Season 1. Today, we have in the first game the Song of Ice and Fire, the fight between 2 a.m. ice cream and a spicy taco after a night out on the town, as False Alarm Fire are facing sheer cold in our opening game. First, though, remember gaming is for everyone. We've opened a link below the screen that takes you to a donations page where you can give to a charity. You can help these people help sick people by giving them the opportunity to enjoy games during long hospital stays. We all love gaming. We encourage you heavily to donate as much as you can spare. After all, players should be sick and the sick should be playing. I'm the Olim Answer, your noob for today, and with me is the brash button basher, the condescending Contessa of controllers, the princess of the ponage. Got Moxie. Hi, Moxie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ollie. I'm doing wonderfully. Had to get up a little bit earlier than usual. It being, I think, 10 a.m. for the call time, 11 a.m. for me now, but ready and waiting to see some Overwatch plays in action. You've been giving me a little bit of a rundown on some plays that have been happening off the side of Open Division that we're not really getting the chance to see that much, but it seems like players really are just adapting to this meta. It's been around for a little bit, so now the waters have started to a little bit steady, and we get to see some sort of smooth sailing rather than everyone struggling to throw all of these ideas at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Yes, and speaking of throwing something at the wall, what we see a lot is that May McCree combination in the DPS bit. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. Tell me, why is that choice so prevalent in the current Open Division meta?
So May is just one of those must picks at the moment, and McCree, the Deadeye, it can be not just a zoning ultimate now, it can find some actual value. And it's a play that not a lot of people, I think, are expecting. When you see the May wall, you expect a blizzard to be coming out immediately afterwards. Suddenly you're looking up and there's a cowboy with that six shooter ready and willing to just take your team to town. So it could be a
Yeah.
little bit of a blindside for teams who are not really used to that one coming out. You got to see it in action. I believe it was a couple of days ago to deadly effect. I've been seeing a couple of plays around Maywells where enemy Rhines get a little bit surprised to see a Shattuck crumbles away. It really is sort of a callback to that Orisa Holt mechanic where it took
Oh yeah.
people so long to really figure out how to use it and how to integrate it into team play. But once the creativity starts flowing, it just does not stop.
That is right. That is absolutely true. Creatively, we have seen a lot of interesting things in the last couple of weeks. Now, though, let's talk about the maestros for this first game. False Alarm Fire, Sheer Cold. Give us a bit of a rundown on this.
Okay, so having a look at the standings, there is one obvious team at an advantage, and that is Force Fire. They are sitting at a win-loss record of 10-2, currently fourth place in the standings, and go just a little bit further down, Sheer Code sitting on that 13th spot. Unlucky number for some, but I think they're perfectly happy they managed to make it into playoffs. They have a win-loss rating of 9-3, so not too far away, but we may see just a little bit of a difference in how these teams play. There is obviously a reason for one team having that slightly higher number than the
Yeah.
other.
That's right. Now let's look at the team sheets for a moment, and I would say let's start with Sheer Cold at this point. On the roster, we have, of course, Shade and Alex, two guys that we know uh, through the last couple of weeks, but also through some earlier things that they have done. Both of them tank mains. They prefer to play Winston Sigma. Is that a combination we're going to see today?
I highly doubt it. Winston and Sigma get run. Occasionally, they are the niche picks at the moment, though. Winston comes out if you really properly want to run annoy the backline to the point that you need to get the traditional duo going of the Winston and the Diva. Sigma is gonna be around only if you feel like you're being pressured into falling back onto baiting ultimates out with flux and then being allowed to put something like a blizzard without having to worry about a sound barrier in. Much more likely are going to be the second picks of both of those players, Reinhardt and Diva. Diva is just so prevalent in the meta at the moment. She's almost as much of a must pick as the Mei currently. And Reinhardt, well, Ollie, everyone adores to see him out and about, just
Yes.
slinging away the hammer. Shatter builds up insanely quickly, can open team fights up in the blink of an eye. And that shield is currently sitting at the strongest HP out of all of the tanks at this current moment.
That is still right. That's right. Also, ladies and gentlemen, for the people who don't know, I am a huge Reinhardt fanboy, and if we can get this up in the first couple of games, up to let's say $250 for our charity, I will do my best Reinhardt impression here on Steam, and that is a promise. Now, swapping over to the other side, something I would like to highlight on the side of False Alarm Fire is their support lineup. Their support lineup have, in the last couple of weeks, shown us some crazy things. It is a guy from the Netherlands and another one from with a Dutchman and Jesus, Flipsy. I'm terribly sorry, and terribly sorry. And they have been one of the better support combinations in this entire first season of Open Division. What is so important nowadays in terms of support? Is it more, the speed buffs and the CCs and all that, or is it just a pure healing output?
At the moment, it's the anti. I'm just seeing the mark of death is just the anti-nade. If it's thrown onto a main tank, the main tank just goes down what feels like almost immediately afterwards. Yes, that speed boost with the Lucio is extremely important in initiating fights, able to kind of blindside a team with perhaps a rush of a shatter from an unseen corner, and then everyone is down. But anti-nades really do force teams to play completely differently, because you have a Reinhardt, and an enemy Reinhardt, he's trying to hold his shield up. The defense, the Diva is trying to get the defense matrix to eat the anti-nade, but if it comes through and the Reinhardt drops the shield, suddenly he is extremely vulnerable and he can't protect his team. He has to keep his shield up. That allows the other Reinhardt to go so aggressively, get straight into his face. The healing that will be coming out will just be pumped straight onto him that is not available for his counterpart. And we can see just teams immediately get one fight win purely off the back of an ability that isn't even an ultimate.
That's right. That's definitely that is definitely one of the greatest plays that you can have, countering a Reinhardt by just going full ham on them. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the map that we are going to load into in just under a minute. It is Oasis, a map where False Alarm Fire will feel right at home, and Sheer Cold may just feel the heat. Looking at this kind of control map, in general. What can you tell us about that? What are the things we should be looking for?
Well, depends really on what map that you're gonna get first. This one right here, City Center, is one really nice one to run dive on. If there's anywhere you're gonna be seeing the Winston come out, it's here. Because if you take that high ground away, then, well, you have about a 50% chance of just already winning that control point off to your side. We'll see teams sometimes just go all the way around, try to take the high ground before they even commit onto the point. That's how much value they put into it. But moving away from the tanks, moving away from the support, something we haven't really got a chance to talk about is the DPS that we're expecting. Mei
Correct.
is obviously there, has to be a contender for just that immediate lock-in, but so too are a number of others. You've got the Reaper if you want to go for that chunk away at the tank lineup. You've got the McCree if you want to go for a little bit of CC and extra protection for your supports. You've got the Farah as well. Open spaces, open skies. Farah is right at home on Oasis.
That is absolutely right. But what about things that are a little bit more flanky? Let's say a Tracer. Let's say a Genji. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Genji being active and useful in a long time. But wouldn't they thrive with all the little corners and side notes that these maps give?
Well, perhaps yes, but not if there's a Brigitte with that CC just ready to bash into your face. No Genjis today.
That's right, and now we actually jump straight into the action, and so does Suna, taking out Sycamore. A&J is able to immediately take them back up, but is still in a bit of hot water as the fight for the high ground is already on the way. We see Shade and Alex making room for the rest of the team to immediately move in there, and now they're jumping down towards the point, trying to get there as quickly as they possibly can, and Sheer Cold already setting the tone, taking that high ground early, and taking it as soon as they can with a nice flash. Shade and Alex find their targets. The support lineup for False Alarm Fire already down, and Sheer Cold looking very good in those opening moments here.
Yeah, and so Sheer Cold, they're also running the Mercy in the support lineup. So if one of them falls down early, the res is there to push them back in. False Alarm Fire are effectively fighting 6 versus 7 before the team fight even properly begins. And Shade has been able to build up Primal. That's how much cleave damage that Winston was able to get through by controlling the high ground and just pumping all of that electrocution energy into False Alarm Fire's bodies.
That's right. Now we see the support lineup on the high ground. Now for the first time challenged as Suna and Setsu jump in there. Hero Brian already in trouble. Sycamore had a sight line on them, and you already see a difference here in ultimate setup. Shade already using his. The monkey is going wild. He is already just bashing that high ground free again for Sheer Cold as they are still trying to keep this up and going. Shade and Alex here on the point are just trying to keep it. Terribly sorry. Setsu gonna get some push in there. Nice bomb getting Sucrax out on the sidelines, and it looks right now as if Sheer Cold are in full control of this.
Yeah, well, the bomb does manage to get Sucrax out of the way, and the res just came down, so not available. False Alarm Fire can try to press this, knowing that the main support is not alive for Sheer Cold.
And 70% already, so they should be able to press this. Now the EMP coming out. Shade and Alex both in trouble. Dutchman and Setsu are able to capitalize on that as Alex also gets out of Meg, and that was very, very valuable. Just one person for Sheer Cold still touching the point now. The real estate covering it up, but at 82%, you got to set the tone early, and it looks as if False Alarm Fire need a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, well, they're going to be looking for it. Flipsy does have this nano, though, so that, I'm sure, will be an alarm clock for Suna. That Winston can get so much damage done if he just gets nano, doesn't even need the primal to be popped. And that's probably the play that they're going for. He's already on that low ground, but Herobrine gets taken out before.
Beautifully done at that point by Backbone in that Tracer versus Tracer fight. And remember, Alex and Backbone still have their ultimate. Backbone now hacked, going down to Dutchman, who was able to take it out. Now the Diva Bomb coming out of Alex, not finding any targets, but at least some room to maneuver here. Suna is down out, so no main tank on the side of False Alarm Fire, but that clock is still ticking. If they can hold on for as long as their opponent did, this fight could turn interesting quite quickly. Alex taking down Setsu, first taking him out of Meg, and that should be a real estate change. Nope. Jump down here, Herobrine and Tsuna, and that is still just farming for percentages. Now they need to get out there quickly. Sycamore has the double kill, used his ultimate there to clear that point and to clear that, how do you say, well, reinforcement at this point, 95% and counting, and this could be the first round one for Shikol.
Well, False Alarm Fire do have the EMP. That's one thing that can immediately turn the fight in their favor. They just have to be able to use it.
Oh, the EMP coming out. 3 people already in trouble. Sycamore and Backbone going down. Sucrax almost getting out of the party. And Setsu and Suna are just going ham at this point. This tank lineup proving their worth as the overtime week is still flowing. Dutchman finds Shade, and now it's 4-on-2 here on the point. And False Alarm Fire do feel the heat. They need to make this swap able to find out. Very nice there. A&J jumping in there together with Sycamore, but, to no avail. 60% now, and that means another 39% that they need to hold on. Can they do it?
Well, it's looking grim for this team, Ollie, especially if you look at the support lineup. Flipsy had to swap onto the Lucio just to try to get back in time to get the contest going with his team. So that means that it's 2 off supports going up against the sustainability that's provided by an Ana and a Mercy. And currently, every res has been able to go off without a hitch. They're not camping the corpses.
That's right. Let's see what we have here. I already see that we had our first donation. Pirate Flag donated $5. Whether or not it is for the charity or it is to hear my Ryan impression, either way, I'm perfectly fine with that. Shade, again, with the ultimate, finds Dutchman. Backbone now finding Herobrine, and it looks as if False Alarm Fire are in trouble. They will not be able to touch that before the tick goes over the overtime week. Running low, Sir Gibson extending that time. timer on his own versus 5 people in that little pagoda there, and that could be an issue. Now, false alarm have to re-extend it again. So Gibson jumps in dice this time to it, but the rest of false alarm have been able to at least touch a point for a second as Dutchman and Flipsy are already going down yet again. Here O'Brien finds Shade. No main tank on the side of Sheer Cold, and that is the first round. Very extended fight, very extended last fight, and the first round going to Sheer Cold.
So a huge part of that is the fact that Sheercold were able to just get those whistles off again and again and again, and never seemed to get caught out. Whether it was in the middle of the enemy team, whether it was when everyone had abandoned the area, the Mercy was just able to drift down and immediately pull the person back into the fight. If you manage to secure a pick, you have to make sure that it stays permanent. I am sure we have all felt the pain of getting an entire almost team kill only for that original Mercy. Thing applies here. You cannot allow it to happen because it will just slip away from you, especially if you don't have a res of your own available.
So close, yet so far. No shame and no cigar. That's definitely right. Now both teams jumping straight back up there. Setsu and Alec going on to a high ground fight immediately. Alex looks like he had the shortest straw. That's a nice boom. Dutchman with a double already taking them out there is able to get Alex out of the mech as well. And now False Alarm Fire showing their teeth for the first time in a very, very convincing manner.
And Dutchman was able to build up 47% off the back of that environmental. And just lagging behind, not even past the 10%. So False Alarm Fire, they can be pretty happy with that push. They didn't need to do anything other than get the Lucio into the mix. And now Sheer Cold, they're going to be looking up. Their heads are going to be in the sky because False Alarm Fire is sitting pretty on that high ground. Hero Brian is going to be in his element at the moment. That McCree just trying to pop heads.
New counter wall already coming out there. Hold that thought for a second, Moxie, because this gets heated. Suna and Sir Gibson going down as A&J and Alex find their targets. And now Sheer Cold pushing in. Alex with another one, taking Hero Brian out of the equation and taking Setsu out of the mech. And Sheer Cold should be able to take the real estate. This is like London inner city. No house will be left clean for long.
Well, pretty soon ultimates are going to be coming out from both of these teams, and this is when the proper fight begins, Ollie. When people actually have the power on their side. Both of these Annas have those nanos up. Both of those Reinhardts have juicy, juicy backsides that are just waiting to get that needle implanted through the chink in that armor. It's going to be a little bit of a slugfest in a couple of seconds.
Well, let's hope it's not too much of a slogfest, because this team, False Alarm Fire, needs to move fast, and they do. Now the walls on both sides, trying to wall each other off, get some room to maneuver. The Diva Bomb could be big. Dutchman gets down on the back of that Blizzard. Well done here in the combo on the side of Sheer Cold, and they are really using that name to their advantage. Hero Brian trying to get A&J down for a second as Backbone and Sycamore clean out.
Yeah, and Blizzard was used from Backbone, which means that False Alarm Fire do have a little bit of an advantage. So many things were used from their opponent's side that they kept a hold of quite a lot of things that they can use for this next engagement, Ollie. They've got the Shadow, they've got the Bomb. This could be a really nice combination, but they're going to have to find themselves in a position where they can actually use it.
High Noon now coming out, looking for targets. Hero Brian on that side, fight Sycamore. The 1 DPS down, and that means that now is the time to push in for False Alarm Fire. Remember, it's 36 versus 75% already on the counter, and False Alarm Fire needs to do something, and they do. The Blizzard is coming out, and Hero Brian with that double on Supras and A&J. No supports there, and that is cleanup duty. Well done, beautifully said.
Beautifully positioning as well, coming out from the side of Flipsy. That Anna just stuck around on the sidelines, didn't get pressured down at all, and was able to just pump in healing, keep the team up and alive, and already 95% to this next nano. That is the reward. Zetsu has still got this bomb, but the question is going to be, who is going to get the nano? Do you hold on to it for when Sucrax is going to have one of their own, or do you try to put it onto the back of someone to keep them alive through Backbone's Blizzard? It's the only thing they've got to try and survive the cold.
Oh, Herobrine finds Sycamore yet again. False alarm fire, even though on the high ground. Looking good. That sleep dart on Alex. Saved it out there. And Herobrine with another one. Gets Sucrax down with a nice high noon from the high ground. It is, like you always call it, the higher noon that wins. Beautifully done. And now those timers very close together. It looks as if False alarm fire have regained it and are able to take this into a 1-1 situation. But it's not, it's too early to say.
Yeah, Sheer Cold are going to be coming up to more ultimates than False Alarm Fire, though, and they've still got this signed bar. They can go so aggressively in this next engagement.
They can, and the Diva Bomb is coming out, pushing back Sheer Cold there for a second. You might have to want to hold on to that for just a sec. Look at Tsuna gets blocked here on that. Been nicely done by Shade. Good response, good counter shatter. Herobrine on the floor, and immediately it gets capitalized on. Now Shade with the double, taking it out. It looks as if Sheer Cold are done playing around, and this is the cap at 99%. And now False Alarm Fire need to be really, really fast.
And they're going to have these swaps coming through Herobrine onto the Tracer. Zetsu going to be swapping onto one of your favorite heroes. Ollie the Hamster is coming out to play to try to spin to win, but it's not enough. No one is able to touch the point, and Sheer Cold, the underdog, will be taking the first map.
Absolutely not the underdog. Sheer Cold maybe on paper, but has a lot of support out there. That was beautifully done, but here we see that great boop from Dutchman in that second round here on the high ground. Let's all savor this, because that was a great flank. You just see them flying all over the place. Well played there, Dutchman. Well played.
Almost picks up the enemy Lucio as well, but no, and is able to just wall ride away as the team's corpses fill up. Sheer Cold have been doing a wonderful job really utilizing, well, the May. Apparently, it's the thing that they really have at the figurehead of their composition. They seem to win the team fight every time they've got a Blizzard. The walls have been near impeccable when it comes to either blocking shatters or separating False Alarm Fire, even pushing them off the high ground occasionally, giving up the advantage that they have in that defensive positioning to drop down, whereas Sheer Cold are just waiting to embrace them with chilling arms.
Yes, and speaking of embracing something, let's talk about Gamers Outreach yet again. If you have ever been in a hospital for more than a couple of hours, you know things can get pretty dull around there. Now imagine you have to be there for weeks and weeks on end. Now, if you are an unfortunate person who has to go through something like that, your illness is your number one concern. Your second concern, of course, is your boredom. Gamers Outreach will help out with that by, putting some consoles, some games into the hands of people who are bedridden, who are in a hospital and don't really know what to do with themselves. Give them a little bit of joy. And in order to do that, they will need our help, specifically your help. So there's a donation button right below your screen. Click it, give as well as you can, and make sure that you, quench the boredom of other people as you wish that your own will be quenched by this cast. And of course, for $250, I will do my world famous Reinhardt impression. It's world famous because no one has ever heard it before and everyone is still talking about it. So let's see what's going to go with that. Now, though, we are loading into the next little puppy, the next little nugget of some Overwatch plays. We're loading into King's Row. What are your predictions for that one, Mark?
A whole lot of speed boost and a whole lot of Reinhardt. This is something I adore to call the speedy Reinzales, which is where you get that reverted Lucio speed boost, and you grab a Reinhardt, you grab a Diva to back him up, and Anna to make sure that he stays alive, and you go straight in for the kill. You zoom out of the spawn doors, you meet the enemy team on the point, and everybody just hacks away, hammering, blasting, booping, whatever they can to just pile damage on, and whoever hits that juicy ultimate first, well, they're the ones who usually walk away with that team fight victory.
Looking at the defensive setup here on the side of False Alarm Fire, I would say no surprises, but in terms of positioning, a lot of things can still be modified here. How do you like the defensive position we see right here?
So it feels like they're just going to stay and try and hold at the point, and I hope that they move just a little bit further forward. One of these chokes that you can see just immediately in front of that point, that gate, is perfectly sized for a May wall, and if Sir Gibson does want to try to wall someone off from Sheer Cold, then they absolutely can, especially with Shade gonna be jumping off the Winston and onto the Reinhardt. They thought about the dive for just a second, but decided against it, and it will just be the mirror matchup.
That's right, Sycamore already eating some damage as they move in all the way, the long way around the statue. Shade is leading the team. Hero Brian finds Sycamore with a nice little side boop. The Diva, Setsu is already in a move, and that is a nice May wall. Shade is in trouble, goes down at the end of the day. The Diva on top of that wall will not save you, and that's a nice pushback here on the first defense.
Yeah, False Alarm Fire looking like they really do want to try to hold at this choke for as long as they possibly can. Lovely to see as well, because Sir Gibson is just putting those walls up at the perfect timing, just separating Shade from the team, not able to get the Reinhardt out and alive. They will be coming into this next approach, so Gibson will be looking to get another wall off.
Now we see Shade once again leading them on the way, all the way on the long side. Alex was up there for a long time, gets fire stricken, and immediately out of that mech. Shade following it up, and Herobrine once again finds Sycamore. It looks as if his position is just so much better than his counterpart, or at least he gets the opportunity to do so. What do you think of that?
So Sheercold seem to have this very strange rotation around the statue where they try to go around the back of it and into the faces of False Alarm Fire. I kind of want to see them this time try to go through Hotel. They've got the Lucio, they can use that speed boost. What they can't use is that McCree if you're False Alarm Fire. Advantage in numbers, Sheer Cold. They need to start moving in.
Again, great wall coming out there. Shade once again is immediately cut off from the DPS, but there are both of the nano boosts. There's a counter boop right there, and Suna is eating the short straw as both Alex and Shade were able to just train that in, and now Shade has free reign to swing that hammer. They do, and that means it is time to get the Ferrari out of the garage. It's time to go into the chicane.
Well, it's time for False Alarm Fire to try to get a regroup and a recontest going as fast as they possibly can. Give up the point, yes, but don't give up the fight, because the next choke is one where you can just hold teams for what seems like an eternity, and you can see that they're already trying to fight this one out. So Gibson does have this Blizzard, Backbone has one as well, and though it's going to be closer on that signed barrier than Dutchman, Sheercold have to play around this.
They do have to play around this, and like you said, you know, this choke can last forever, but they also need to last forever. 355, that was a nice block here on Shade, and immediately goes down after a nice high noon. That, you know, sound barrier will not save you from that. Herobrine with a double kill, Suna following it up on Backbone, and now the payload firmly in the hand of False Alarm Fire. 3 minutes 40, still on the clock.
So, False Alarm Fire, I love the play that they just made to make sure that that Blizzard was able to come through. Herobrine pops the Deadeye, it draws Defense Matrix out from Alex and Sir Gibson, waits until it's gone, puts the Blizzard in, knows it's going to hit the ground and they're going to get a teamfight win off this. But now they're the ones walking into the Blizzard. They don't have the sign barrier, they need to start backing away.
High Noon coming out on the other side. There's a nice May wall setting it up there and just making sure that that will not come through. Shade was slept for a second, but is able to get woken up for a second as Dutchman goes down. Herobone is able to counter that, but Sheer Cold are able to stabilize that. The only one still holding that point for a second is Setsu, and that was it. Whether or not it was stagger or whether or not it was tactics, we will never know. But now that payload moving into that Z chicane, and this is a very hard for a defending team to regain that before that second cap point.
Especially when you look at the ultimates that they're going to be walking into. Backbone still has this Blizzard and Sucrex has the Nano. This can be very painful follow-up for False Alarm Fire. They don't have that sign barrier. They've only got a bomb and a Nano. And that Deadeye, they're going to have to start initiating, but they can't clump up too close, otherwise they'll all get caught out by the ultimates.
Oh, there's the Shatter with the counter Shatter coming straight out. Didn't really find a lot of targets on the side of False Alarm Fire. Sheer Cold had a bit of a bigger impact right there as ANJ is able to get Gibson. Setsu trying to still stabilize this out. This payload has not been capped yet, but Sheer Cold in absolute swing. This is just staying cool and moving forward.
Yeah, so Sheercold were just able to win the fight out on quantity over quality of ultimates. They just had so many that False Alarm Fire just were not able to stand up to the aggression. So Gibson's actually going to get slept a little bit. So False Alarm Fire is still going to be waiting for that regroup. They do have the win condition coming up for them, though. This Blizzard, they just have to be able to A, either hit it before the sign bar comes online, or B, pull it out of the Lucio first.
That's right. Now, both the May walls coming out yet again. The High Noon try on top of the wall. Did not find a target. Now, the counter High Noon. Herobrine being moved forward there by Dutchman. They're trying to find it. Another nice May wall blocking off High Noon. And these people seem to know that nowadays that High Noon is just terrifying. Sycamore this time finds Herobrine. So it must have been a positioning error here on the first point that Herobrine was being able to get the better earlier. Now, the Blizzard is coming out, though. And Alex is frozen in ANJ, getting the rest of the team through that with a nice little sound barrier. The counter coming out from Dutchman as this payload is coming around the final corner, going into the stretch. We see a Nano Tsuna trying to fight Shade. Shade in trouble, has the shatter, does not really find a lot of targets on that one as Dutchman is pulling the trigger on that and finally getting Shade out. ANJ on the other side finds Herobrine on the sideline. Suck cracks on Dutchman with a nice little bit of long range, but the nade counters it out. Falls alarm fire with a breakout defense, and they need to keep this up for another minute 50 in order to keep that payload away from that final cap point here in the final corner of the final point.
But they have something that can really see this devastating next fight. They've got the shatter, they're going to have the bomb. Ollie, we haven't get to see Shade get pressured into putting that shield in twice. We might get to see it now.
Deeper bomb coming up on over, and that finds Dutchman. That could have gone worse, actually. Now, Atsuna, without his shield, was immediately cracked out. Nice charge. Needs to Hail Mary it out. Finds Shade, gets the nano boost, and immediately that Blizzard stops the raging Rhine in the backline. It's fantastic. Backbone and Sycamore finding their targets respectively. That payload is still moving, and now it should be time for some fast characters. But it is still the same setup. High Noon, Sukrax on the side, couldn't hide behind the Rhine shield on Shade's side. Sycamore trying to counter it up, fires his own High Noon, and does not find any countering targets, but Dutchman straightly afterwards. Tuna gets onto ANJ, and this could get frantic. Another breakout. Please take over, Moxie. Tell us what happened in that last fight.
So Force Alarm Fire don't switch up their composition for one sole reason. They've got ultimates that are built up. Herobrine comes out with the Deadeye. It forces Sheer Cold further away. So Gibson had the Blizzard as well. So really, Force Alarm Fire, they were just trying to put bodies on the cart until the May was able to put the Blizzard in. But it works out for them. They find the picks without having to put it in. And now with 30 seconds left on the clock for Sheer Cold, they've still got to worry about the Blizzard. ANJ is coming up to the Sign Barrier, yes, but this can put a stop to the contest.
Doesn't find any target at this point, and it's a purple Tsuna, very low, one hit point, one fire strike, and it's over. Sycamore actually finds it in the last second before that purple was over. Now the sound barrier is coming out, and immediately ANJ goes to go into those sidelines and tries to find as many of their air supports as they can. Dutchman gets to Shade, High Noon coming out on the side of Sheer Cold, but Herobrine finds Backbone. In the meantime, Tsuna, great shatter through that payload, and this could be the breakout. The overtime is running out, and they save it clutch just meters away from that cap point.
Oh, Force Alarm Fire are breathing a big sigh of relief. This is the reason why teams really do need as much time in the bank as they possibly can for when that payload starts rolling towards C, because suddenly, all over King's Row, you have that kind of push and pull where sometimes the attackers have the advantage, sometimes the defenders have it. When it gets to C, that becomes lopsided. It is all in the defenders' favor. They've got the high ground, they've got all of these corridors that they can try to worm their way around to go for surprise ultimates, surprise shatters, drop down Death Blossoms. The respawn is closer, your respawn is so much further. Reinforcements will always get their back into the fight in such an annoyingly quick fashion. You can feel like you've just wiped one person away and suddenly two people are replacing the gap that they left behind. Sheer Cold aren't just able to eke the payload just a little bit further, and so they won't pick up all 3 points in King's Row.
Picking up a lot of points, though, on the other side are a couple of people who have donated. OW Chris with $15, and Guysap with another $10 pirate flag with just another $5 coming in. That is very generous. Keep them coming, because remember, I still have a Rhine impression to try out, and you should be my premier audience. OW Chris right now, highest donator, by the way. So let's look at the defensive setup here for Sheer Cold, former Indignation. Yes, Finyesta, I know you're here, and I know you want me to tell them that that is the case.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the same sort of defense that we got to previously just see, holding around the point and then trying to move in on that choke as fast as they possibly can. I spoke too soon. It's gonna be Shay trying to get an early bit of a fire strike charge off, and defense matches is not there. Already 21% to that shatter.
That is a lot, especially that early. Another fire strike coming in. This time it was Eaton for the biggest part. Now he's in trouble, though. Shade getting walled off. Great anti-nade, though, on the side of Sucrax. That could potentially put them in a better spot. Sir Gibson finds Shade finally, but the momentum for False Alarm is halted there for a second as they need to recap that Vine Shield on Suna's side. Now moving forward, moving on to that cap point. Sycamore trying to find Sir Gibson on the target. Great wall on the side of Sir Gibson and giving a little more of a fighting chance and not as long sightlines here for False Alarm Fire. Suna going down to Sycamore. Sycamore with the double takes Dutchman out, and this could be back to the drawing board here for False Alarm Fire, and it is.
These May walls have been so beautiful. Oh, the Diva gonna get staggered out as well. A little bit of an artistic take on Overwatch, always getting those Divas just staggered out. But no, these Mays have been coming up so clutch when it comes to taking down those ranks, whether it's separating them from their team and the engagement starts, or whether it's making them CC'd, freezing them up, walling behind them so that the Ana just can't manage to pump the support in. They've been coming in so
walling behind them, Shade already in trouble. Blizzard immediately followed. Sucrax going down, Shade following, even after the nano boost has been used there in the last death throes of Sucrax. And now False Alarm Fire moving it in there and getting that Ferrari.
Yeah, but She-Cold have still got a number of ultimates to their name, Ollie. They really did just keep a hold of absolutely everything they possibly could besides that nano, so they will be able to come in looking pretty strong when it comes to trying to halt this payload before it moves past the choke. They're moving, and now they want to finish this fight.
They do. Sir Gibson was in trouble there for a second. The high noon now coming out from the shield. Hasn't been drawn just yet, but cannot find an angle. Now Sheer Cold have that advantage of the choke we talked about earlier, and they seem to be able to use it for now because it is a very, very slow setup. That's a great shatter on the side of Suna, followed by the Diva Bomb, but that was just an inch too late. Shade with the counter shatter finds value on two of them, and that Maywall wasn't able to save their False Alarm Fire because this alarm, ladies and gentlemen, was absolutely real.
Oh, the play that I just saw coming out from A&J. You can see that Lucio just surfing up on that high ground now. Backbone puts the Blizzard in. The Lucio pops down, sneaks around from the window, tries to boop the squishies from False Alarm Fire into it. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out, but lovely brain behind it. Now they're not going to have the Blizzard. They're not going to have a sign bar. They are going to have the Nano, and they're going to open up with it immediately.
Immediately, two walls are making sure that this is halted. Now, Tsuna has to fight a nano-boosted Shade, at least for a second, and Shade pulls his team back, gets Setsu out of that mech, Tsuna falling down, and Sheer Cold in absolute control. 3 minutes 20 on the clock. We have seen this the other way around, so nothing has been won or lost yet.
Yeah, and they're cycling back around to that Blizzard as well. Really, their win condition is just that one single ultimate. If you can find value with anything else, you're happy, but you just want to build Blizzard up as quickly as you possibly can. That being said, they do have a couple of things that can make this data extremely impactful. One being that Shade Shatter. If you can manage to land it from Suna's shield, then you can have that immediate follow-up, just hit all of the skulls on the ground.
Yes, and having that Shatter up again right now is... you know, very, very valuable. I don't think Tsuna will know that that Shatter is actually on the table since he is so low on his own. Tsuna absolutely gets down Shattered, even though there was a nano boost on him. The counter nano is in there. They're using the opening that created, and they are immediately pushing it straight in. And like I said, Tsuna did not expect that Shatter to be on the board. At least it didn't look like it.
Yeah, well, another thing they're probably not going to be expecting is Backbone has this Blizzard once again. That is a Blizzard every 2 team fights for this, mate. Absolutely insane ultimate building. So Gibson's lagging behind only just past 50. And he does come out from Flipsy, though. Picks up a couple, forces She-Cold to be just a little bit more careful. We're going to see False Alarm Fire trying to go for a rotation. They're not going to bash their heads through this choke any further.
They are. Now Shade, though, in trouble with the back against the wall. The Blizzard is coming out to save him and to make some opening. A&J with the double. Herobrine and Flipsy already going down, and he is following it up with 2 more assists. That is one lethal Lucio.
That was one lethal Blizzard. False Alarm Fire really were not expecting that ultimate. That is the only explanation for why they went around that way, because they were just clumped up so close together that Blizzard caught almost every single one of them out. And now Sheer Cold, they've been holding this choke for what feels like so long. 1 minute, 26 seconds left on the clock for False Alarm Fire to find anything. They will have a Blizzard of their own, but A&J has the sign where it can just bail the team out of it, and you can see Sheer Cold already backing out, not wanting to get
There's
caught
a
up.
Diva Bomb coming out, trying to find some targets, find Suckrax, and also nearly had Backbone, who needed to use the Ice Plug at this point. Now the Blizzard is coming out from the other side. Sycamore is trying to hold this up with a High Noon, finds 2 targets. There's another bomb coming in, finds no targets at this point, but at least gets Sheer Cold's momentum halted immediately. Alex slept, and there we see a nano boosted Tsuna, and now is the time to strike, but the May Wall makes that very, very hard. Reinhardt on the sideline is being absolutely just annoyed at this point by A&J, who was able to just go very, very deep at this point. Dutchman and Herobrine clean up that payload, moving yet again. 30 seconds still on the clock, and it looks as if Sheer Cold can actually hold it near the second point, but they seem to elect not to do so for now, at least.
Yeah, well, Sheer Cold are going to be very careful about how they come into this next approach, because they can win things out. They just have to wait for the opportune moment to strike. Backbone does have this Blizzard that can shut everything down immediately, but first, Dutchman has to put in that sign barrier.
High Noon coming out on the top of the wall, but it's being mostly eaten by a great defensive matrix and very good positioning on the side of Sheer Cold. But that was great. Great shatter countered by the Blizzard nonetheless. Tsuna was able to find Shade, but this is going all the way, but not in the way that False Alarm Fire needs it to go. Herobrine is trying to get back there, is trying to get some help, but Alex was able to push him out. Setsu still holding that overtime wake alive. There's a Diva Bomb coming out. Herobrine finds Alex now, and this could be the cap if they can hold on long enough. So Gibson is still there. Herobrine is still there. There's a nice sleep, and that was it for Herobrine at this point, especially since that boost came in there, that sound barrier from A&J, holding up most of Sheer Cold. The overtime wake now running low is being extended yet again by Flipsy, but to no avail. That was it, and that was a great victory for Sheer Cold, who made sure that the momentum could not be carried out.
I mean, False Alarm Fire, their King's Row died at the choke. They just were not able to get past that one in time, which meant that they only had that one last fight when they needed to roll that payload into point. The spawn point was just so much further away, even if they lost people on the side of Sheer Cold. You saw Shade was actually able to get back faster to the team fight than Suna was. Shade had the shatter up, Suna wasn't there, was still trying to come back. Shade was able to see that the team was without a shield to hide behind, drops the shadow in, the rest of his team just pile onto the poor forces of False Alarm Fire, who, without a Reinhardt, left just a little bit legless.
That was a great game nonetheless. Though, I have to definitely say that I am thoroughly entertained, and I hope you guys out there are just as much entertained as we are. So, looking at the setup right now, we see a very, very strong support line coming out of False Alarm Fire. Dutchman and Flipsy, like I said, we saw some great anti-nades halting some things, but there is something in Sheer Cold's approach that just makes them more dominant. So overall, what would you say is the biggest differentiator after these two maps were set for now?
It's the small things. False Alarm Fire, they know what they want to do. They want to get past choke, they want to try to get onto payload, so they put in things that they think is gonna work. They put in a Blizzard, they put in a Shadow, they put in a Bomb. Sheikal take it to just a little bit of a next level. They put in a Blizzard, they send a Lucio around the back to boot the supports and squishies into it. They try to hold it choke. They see that the teams are trying to go for a rotation. They go, aha, opportunity! Everyone turns their head to the side. They've got a Blizzard in their pocket. They throw it down, and everyone from the side of False Alarm Fire gets caught just extremely unaware when it comes to those ultimates. And I think that the main thing is that Shade is able to stay alive so much longer, it feels like, than Suna. Because yes, these Reinhardts are both extremely aggressive, but I would say Backbone's walls have been just a little bit more impactful than Sir Gibson's when it comes to making sure that the Reinhardt is separated from the pack and escorted back to spawn.
Yes, that's right. Also, Backbone with a couple of those clutch blizzards. I mean, we see that May just absolutely earning the name of Devil Incarnate. Now, though, we are loading on to Dorado, a place with a lot of high ground plays, a place with a lot of sideline plays. Will the quote unquote meta setup that we've seen from both of these teams hold up on this map, or do they need to change something up? What do you think?
Well, you can run Dorado to meta, but you can also run Dorado, well, a little bit zany, a little bit crazy, something that perhaps the enemy team might not be expecting to come out. And if you're false alarm fire, I feel like you're just a little bit of a step behind when it comes to the mirror matchup. And so the best thing to do would probably be to come out with something that isn't that mirror matchup. Seems are looking at this defense that they're just going to be sticking with this. Really, if they're going to be switching anything up, I would expect it to be on point B. Having that high ground can be extremely valuable, making sure the payload just doesn't see itself any closer to that finish line. But when you have that first choke, and I want to see these people try to hold Sheer Cold at that choke as long as they get hold, as they got held on King's Row, they've got this, mate. They can hold this choke. They just have to use it. They have to be able to make sure that they know the value of it, and they have to actually work around this choke. They need to position themselves in a way where they're able to back out, allow Shakehold to walk in just a little bit closer, and then try and wall off the retreat.
That's right. We will see what is going on right now. Very aggressive defense here coming out of false alarm fire as a sheer cold are coming out of the gate first. Alex trying to get in there with the help of Shade. And we see a very, very divey setup from sheer cold. Was that expected?
Not really, no, but I don't think False Alarm Fire were expecting it either, because suddenly you're trying to fight a Winston without any form of CC.
They do seem like they are, just jumping in there aggressively because they know there is not a lot of, full CC on the table. Sycamore finds Gibson immediately with that May off the table. It is very hard to stop that dive. Beautifully done here. Shade already has the ultimate, and Sycamore, though very low, finally goes down to Herobrine. I thought he would have gotten away for a second. Backbone with the double, and it looks as if this dive is just working out beautifully.
And sheer cold, they're going to be able to bypass this choke entirely. False Alarm Fire just kept themselves hand up in that small room, weren't able to escape, find themselves in a little bit of a pincer movement off the side of Sheer Cold, and now that payload just gets to roll completely free of something where it really should have stopped for a very, very long time.
Yep, that is a very good time they're making. It's 2 minutes and 28 seconds and already rounding the fountain. That is something that you usually only see in bull races somewhere in Spain. Sycamore finds a bomb onto Dutchman. Sycamore goes on to find Herobrine, and that is just a crazy tracer. It is just riding along, beautifully done with the help of A&J and Alex. They clear it up, cap point A, and they haven't stopped yet. Now, we see Backbone is ready with that EMP, and now things could get really cool with an EMP bomb combination. I'm crossing everything I have. Let's see some cool explosions.
Well, it should be so much easier as well now that Suna has swapped off the Reinhardt, gives up the shadow that he just built up and onto the Winston, because that's a
Oh, but
bubble.
hold
You
for a
just have to
second.
wait for the
Go down.
bubble.
There's the EMP, and there's a bomb. No, bomb is not coming out from Alex. He's not comboing it with the bomb. Herobrine now has the high noon on the high ground, tries to find some target, doesn't find anything, but at least gets sheer cold off their case for just a second. There's the bomb finally flying out. Doesn't find a lot of targets, actually finds nothing, and just makes sure that it is not false alarm fire to fully populate that high ground for a second. Tsuna now on the monkey themselves, jumping in there. Asetsu is asleep, and then is actually not EMP'd, hacked. Terribly sorry. So Gibson finds a Sukrax on that sideline. Now, this looks a bit more skirmishy than I would have expected, as Sir Gibson and Setsu are able to just run wild in there. Setsu going for Shade, who is being stopped by a wall before having to jump out. Doesn't make it because, Sir Gibson was still there.
It's really interesting as well, the support lineup that both of these teams are running, this Brigitte and Anna. It's very aggressive, but it does not give you much room for defense at all. No Sand Barrier, no Transcendence. If you get caught out either by an EMP or a Blizzard, it is effectively a death sentence for either of these teams.
That's right. We will see what is going on right on next. We see a very, very long way around here for Alex and Shade. The rest of the team following it up, and Sheer Cold are not letting up. They want that high ground, and they are going to fight for it. Shade already raging through the enemy team. The rally is on for Dutchman, pushing that big monkey out successfully. And now there is a nano boosted Shade in the enemy team. Setzo finds Alex on that sideline, but Shane gets them before they can get back into that mech. Beautifully done right there. 2 minutes 20 still on the clock. That payload still moving slowly, but it is.
Yeah, but Sheercold, they're just buying time for Backbone to build up to this EMP 5% away. Yes, Flipsy has the nano, but again, they have nothing really to try to keep the team alive. No Sign Barrier, no Transcendence, nothing to save the entire team. It's just the one person.
It is just that one push, and we will see whether or not they can set that up. Backbone, EMP, and now this looks like it could be an issue. So Gibson was able to get that Blizzard off and at least clears out that pressure that was suddenly there after that EMP by Backbone. Beautifully done, beautiful setup. Dutchman is able to stop Shade from going into that back line for a second, and it is still the same song and dance. Every time False Alarm Fire do something really, really cool in order to stop that pressure. That payload is still moving. Diva Bomb pushing them back now, and now for the first time they need to hold it, or that second point will once again be capped. ANJ on that Brigitte is able to hold it, even though they were frozen for a second there. So Gibson going down. Hero Run with a double on Shade and Sycamore. This could open it up, even though the cap has already been real, but you need to use every little bit of chokage that you can. ANG with a double kill on that chain. Beautifully done.
Yeah, but this is where the dive stops. We'd love to see it, but teams are going to now swap onto the Reinhardt's. Dive does not work on Dorado Point C. It is that much more focus on the low ground, on trying to control the payload, just seeing itself all the way through to the finish line. It's gonna be the Sombra sticking around though. Backbone does have that EMP built up. Sheercold will be waiting to initiate with it. You can see the Sombra trying to set that one up. Wants to try to translocate in. A little bit wary of the Mei though.
A little bit worried of that Mei, definitely. Now the EMP coming out there. Most of it being blocked by the bridge. Only Setsu is right now in that hacked state and immediately gets out of there. So that payload is still moving, and Sheercold is just throwing everything that they can against that Rhine shield, against that nano boosted Reinhardt, who saves themselves by charging out of the Blizzard. Suna is able though to get it with a double kill to Gibson, and Herobrine following it up with their own kills. And that payload in enemy territory with 1 minute on the clock is very hard to regain control of right now for Sheercold. Let's see if they can do it.
Well, Backbone is going to swap to the Mei just now, so they are going to try to build up to a Blizzard rather than another EMP, but with 1 minute left on the clock, well, 1 minute 10 seconds, I'm a little bit worried because an EMP, yes, you can realistically build up within a minute. A Blizzard is a little bit more questionable, a little bit harder to pull off.
That is, and the Diva Bomb coming in from the sideline. Setsu has to keep that wall up, and therefore has to, cannot move away from Sheercold, who are now moving in there with a vengeance, an absolute storm. The rally is coming out there. Sycamore still has that high noon and has the high ground advantage over False Alarm Fire, who are now coming out of their main gate in that last little spawn room. The Diva Bomb moving out there, trying to find some target. Doesn't really find a target. The high noon on Sucrax here by Herobrine makes sure that there is less support for Sheercold. The counter high noon doesn't find any target on Sycamore because he couldn't get the angle up there for a second, and now the win condition has shifted for Sheercold from getting a nice high noon off to just trying to stay alive for just one more push. 8 seconds on the clock, and they are moving in.
Power shift though has gone to False Alarm Fire. They've got the ultimate, they've got the payload in that session.
And they got a nano. Reinhardt with a shatter is able to set it up. The fire strike gets ANJ. Sir Gibson and Dutchman on cleanup duty. The overtime wig is running low. There is no one to charge, and that was just in the neck of time.
This feels very much like King's Row once again. Will we see the payload get so frustratingly close to the finish line, but doesn't quite manage to make it all the way to pick up those 3 points?
That's right. Now, as we have some time between those, those two rounds, remind us: is this a best of five, or what's the situation here?
So this is a best of 5. This is not the finals, which will be a best of 7. This is just that best of 5. Nothing really different from what we've seen before, Ollie. No map 7 today.
No map 7 today, which is a shame. I loved the regular OD lines where every time you, for instance, had a draw, you would get an extra map, and there would be more maps, and everyone would get new maps, and there would be super maps, and there would be extra control, and a lot of cool ultimates, and a lot of explosions. Everything a play-by-play, and all of you beautiful people out there love. Speaking of beautiful people out there, did you know that there are some beautiful people out there who are trying to help sick people, and not doctors? No, doctors are overrated. I'm talking about Gamers Outreach. Gamers Outreach are the people that bring you video games when you are bored in a hospital, when you have to be there for a long time due to a long-term illness. And that is something beautiful that everyone who has ever held mouse and keyboard or controller should get behind. And you can get behind it. Click the donations button just below your screen. Give generously, because paying for video games for sick children is one of the best deeds you will do all month, or maybe ever in your life. Now, back to the game, though. We've seen False Alarm Fire coming out of the gate as Sheer Cold have set up their position very, very much in a two-pronged assault. The only one who is absolutely doing their own thing, but that was to expect, is Backbone on that Sombra. Talk us through what we're going to see right now.
So we're going to see Herobrine almost immediately switch. There we go. It comes on through. No one wants to play Widow into the dive that Sheer Cold are running right now. They're just taking up possession of this red building on the high ground. Gonna force False Alarm Fire to come to them.
Oh, Sycamore forces, gets forced actually back to spawn by Herobrine there for a second. Good anti-nade coming out on Sakrax, and it looks as if False Alarm Fire are not letting up. They need to match or even, better the time that their opponents did earlier, just so they can make a shot at equalizing this. There are creeps for reverse sweep already in Twitch chat. I absolutely love that. Give us some copy pasta for these teams. They're playing their heart out here in the Open Division playoffs, and it is go time for everyone who you will be seeing over the next couple of days here on Monkey Bubble.
Yeah, well, that is a nano to Winston just jumping straight in, gonna start the action off for Sheer Cold.
They are, and they're jumping in, getting frozen there for a second. Shade is trying to get some value out of that nano, and it's just being stopped by Sir Gibson, who immediately jumps into that little side room. But it looks as if False Alarm Fire had to move back there for just a second. So 2 minutes and 25 they were around the long side of the fountain as well, but they couldn't follow through with that all the way to the end point. Very good try on the side of False Alarm. The EMP coming out there, and now 4 people are actually EMP'd. Both of the supports going down for False Alarm Fire as Sukrux and Shade press their advantage. A&J finds Herobrine on the sidelines, and False Alarm Fire are once again back in spawn as Sheer Cold are just chilling through the...
Well, False Alarm Fire's hand may have been forced by the EMP, but it meant that they were able to save ultimates on that push. They're gonna have them now. Importantly, they've still got this Blizzard and Sheer Cold. They're not running anything that can deal with it. Once again, it's gonna be up to the Diva to get the defense matrix. Otherwise, things might start getting a little bit frosty for this team.
It will definitely, but remember, False Alarm Fire are the ones who need to get something done here on this map. The temperature is rising for them, and that is due to the fact that if they lose this round, they will go into the loser's bracket, and Sheer Cold obviously want that to happen. False Alarm, though, are very, very cozy in their snuggly place right here and want to keep on going. Sooner now with the ultimate, finds the double on that Raging Monkey. Herobrine on the side finally kills down Shade. 54 seconds on the clock, and this should be the time that they close it out, and they should be able to do that right now. They do.
But it's not as fast as the push that we saw Sheer Cold manage to pull off, and part of that is that they got stopped. They got caught up just a little bit. They weren't able to get that full push just going all the way through, and Sir Gibson is gonna swap onto the Sombra. Ollie,
yes.
pinch me. We have a game that hasn't got maze in it, and I love this. But you do reset your ultimate economy by doing this. Backbone has an EMP already built up, so Gibson is going to have to work all the way
There
up.
we go, the nano boost is coming in, but immediately gets slept out. Shade is having a nap, and you can have as much energy if you want. If you get hit by that sleep dot, you are just down and out for a little while. Suna gets down by ANJ, though, as Shade fights Flipsy, and that means no main tank, no main support on the side of False Alarm Fire. So, momentum halted yet again, 2 minutes 20 on the clock.
And no real pressure coming from False Alarm Fire means that Shakehold do not need to have that EMP committed. So they are going to have it for this next engagement for when False Alarm Fire try to get this dive going once again.
They should be getting that dive going once again, but there's the EMP on Backbone's side. 3 people are set up. Flipsy already down. Setsu and Suna, both of the tanks hacked, and both of the tanks in a bit of trouble. Suna is able to stabilize just there for a second as Flipsy comes back out of the spawn. Herobrine going down on the sideline by a nice little shot there by Sycamore, who is just devastating on that Tracer.
Yeah, but Shakehold have used all of the ultimates that they've currently got available. They should get this primal coming online, but False Alarm Fire, they do have that Sombra. They can just hack the Shade out, and he won't be a very much jumpy monkey for very much longer.
Herobrine on the hack is in a bit of trouble there as they get hacked by a combo by Backbone and Sycamore. They're just waiting for Herobrine to come around those sidelines. Now the payload still moving. There is a nano rally on the map. That is something you don't see anymore every day. Diva Bomb finds Backbone, so now some room to maneuver here. And Shade gets hacked out for it and should actually be in a spot of trouble. But the nano boost saves him out of there. He is still alive, gets asleep, and now the ultimate is flying in, and that means there's a crazy monkey in your backline. False Alarm Fire, get the extinguisher because this could be an issue for you.
Well, they've got the EMP, and if that extinguishes lights, I'm not sure what doesn't.
And there it goes, 5 people EMP. This could potentially be big, but the first people to fall are the DPS on the side of False Alarm. That's not what you want to see right after one of those great multi-hacks. Suna gets Sycamore out of that. ANJ finds Suna immediately after, though, so no main tank on the point as well. The payload halted 30 seconds on the clock, and it still has such a distance to go.
And they have one team fight until it becomes into that overtime, and they won't be able to leave the payload side. Shakehold have all of the advantages that they can possibly want. They've got the high ground, they've got the EMP, they've got the sustainability on their side. Herobrine has to come up huge with this pulse bomb.
That's right, coming up huge though is that EMP at this point. ANJ is hacked on the other side, but Herobrine already going down. Suna and Setsu, who jumped the high ground, immediately had to retreat on the back of that. Suna hacked yet again. It looks as if Backbone is always able to go around that side and be there where they need to be. The overtime wick now running. Sycamore with a nice stick onto Flipsy. Setsu on the Diva Bomb fights Backbone. So now could be a bit of a spot, especially since Shade, who is in his ultimate, is very low on hit points. So no, he gets back in there. The overtime wick is still running, and Herobrine and Dutchman are both of them going down. Setsu very low, getting out of the mech. Gibson going down, and the overtime wick should be running down, and that is it. Shakehold take the cake.
And they're gonna breathe a big sigh of relief because it looked a little bit dicey. When you see False Alarm Fire building up that EMP very quickly, Shakehold Sombra had actually swapped off to the Doomfist to try to get back into the fight a little bit faster, rather than trying to build up another EMP of their own. And look at the monkey juggling. There he goes.
Monkey juggle is great. Is in town. Beautifully done right there. And that is such huge value right there. Beautifully done. We do see, though, that Herobrine on the side of False Alarm Fire had one hell of a game. 15,000 damage done, even though there were so many shielding opportunities and a defense matrix on there. Those are good numbers on the side of False Alarm. And I have to say, even though this looks on paper like a quick 3-0 game, it was wildly entertaining and very high stakes.
I mean, it was anything but a quick and easy 3-0. Some of those fights just went on, and it was very much just a flip of the coin which way it would fall when it came really down to that finish line. Shakehold manages to get a couple more coin flips than False Alarm Fire, though, and so will be taking the victory today.
They are definitely taking the victory today, moving into the winners bracket, while False Alarm Fire are going down back into the crucible, where they will have to fight their way back up to the winners bracket. And that is something that is positively hard. It is such a hard thing to lose your first match psychologically and then need to come back in there into the upper bracket just to make a spot at the final table. This is just going to have some grave ramifications for their psychology, and I hope they can fight through that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we have, to wait for the next match, which will be in a little while, I believe in just under an hour, but I will have to check that with production. We have to throw it to a little bit of a break. Remember, use that break, ladies and gentlemen, to donate to our charitable cause, to donate to the people and peoplets that absolutely need you out there. For now, though, enjoy your break. Get a drink. I definitely will. And I am going to start up my vocal cords for the Reinhardt impression. So $250 buys you that. Otherwise, see you in a bit. Thank you.